Today's forum allows CMC to honor for the third time in recent years of hosting the first public appearance of our incoming president at The Ohio State University. Our community and our sponsors have really stepped up to support this forum, which allowed for us to expand the room. Please help me recognize and thank Deloitte, Mills James, Honda, the Robert Weiler Company, Shoemaker, Loop and Kendrick, Moody Nolan, and Corner Kokosi for their support. Please, with a round of applause. All of them are members. Just saying. Just saying. Now, please welcome Mark Johnson, Columbus Tax Manager Partner of Deloitte, to the stage to introduce our speakers. Thank you.
Thanks, Todd. As mentioned, I'm Mark Johnson, the managing partner of the Columbus Tax Practice, and Deloitte is very happy, very pleased to be part of the Columbus Metropolitan Club and really to advance the mission of the club, which is, to get all of us, get the leaders in the community together and really talk about relevant issues to our region. We're also honored today to welcome the president of the Ohio State University, both to Columbus and to the Columbus Metropolitan Club. Now, before I get to a little bit more of the introduction, I wanted to do something. I am a Buckeye, and so in front of a crowd like this, I feel the need to say OH. OH. Thank you, sir. Now, while he's only been here a short time in Columbus, it's probably become apparent to him that the notion of celebrity is a little bit different in Ohio than it is in California. Celebrity in California, you're talking about musicians, rock stars, actors. In Ohio, we have a celebrity group in no particular order. We talk about the governor, the football coach, and the president of The Ohio State University, which is pretty relevant. You see he's already got a group of paparazzi that follows him around. And, classes haven't even started yet. So with that, let me get to some more serious note. Dr. Drake is a native of New York City on the East Coast, has led a distinguished 3 decades-long career in both medicine and education on the West Coast, but has long had a connection here in Ohio, right down the middle, through his mother, a Youngstown native. His accomplishments as a leader, an innovator, and a steadfast supporter of diversity and inclusion portend a bright future for Ohio State and our community. Please join me in welcoming our 15th president of The Ohio State University, Dr. Michael Drake.
Thank you, even back there. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Well, thank you very much. It's wonderful to be here today. It's really a glorious day today. I mean, bright and clear, and the slightest little hint of fall in the air. I thought that was really great coming in this morning to the campus, and I was looking forward very much to having a chance to come and speak with all of you here this afternoon. Nice to see some now 6-week at least old friends in the audience, and to meet very many more people. And Brenda and I, in our years here, look forward to meeting and working with many of you in a variety of circumstances as the years roll forward. And I appreciate, John, the kind introduction and welcome. I'd say also I really appreciate the mission of the Metropolitan Club and the opportunity this gives for many of us to come together and talk about the critical issues of the day. It's one of the things that our fellowship really helps to support, and Metropolitan Club has a great legacy of being a place for those gatherings and a place for those discussions here in Columbus. And so we're really, really pleased to be here, and pleased to have this as my first, most official time to be able to meet the community broadly. So this is a great and appropriate forum. My first 40 days have been exciting and busy. About as busy as I expected, maybe a little more exciting. And let me say the things that I've done. We've had a chance already to travel to Northeast Ohio with the Rhodes Scholars Tour last week. That was great, and had a chance to go out to the Worcester campus, and then a chance to meet faculty in different parts of our university doing research and talking about teaching and things that we can do to support our students. At the center of all we do is support for our students and nurturing our students and creating an environment for our students, and it's great to have faculty partners to work on those things with. And also it's great to have an incredible staff. I'll say a little more about the staff later, but with an enterprise as large as the Ohio State University, an institution as iconic and important not only to our region but to the nation and the world, we know that the things don't just happen. They happen by people coming and rolling up their sleeves and doing great work and being dedicated to our mission and to our values and to our outcome. And our staff, who I think don't get enough appreciation, are really the cornerstone of that. And every chance I get, I want to make sure that we take a moment to acknowledge the hardworking staff. And we do that now. We'll do that at convocation and as often as we can. And then I had a chance to meet with many other people from the region in Columbus and other places around the country, actually, who joined us for Pelotonia on this we had a great weekend. We had Pelotonia in the morning on Saturday, 7,000 riders. I had a wonderful tour of the beautiful countryside around Columbus. I have to admit I was focused mainly on asphalt and the wheel in front of me, but from time to time I'd look over beautiful rolling countryside, and there were thousands of people along the way congratulating us and cheering us on, and all thinking about someone they had in their family who had cancer. And let me just, something I do in audiences from time to time, let me just say, if you here in the audience have someone in your family, a parent, a sibling, God forbid a child, but a close family member who is dealing with or has dealt with cancer, can you raise your hand? And so one of the things that happens when you ask that question in an adult audience is that almost everybody raises their hand, because this is a ubiquitous disease. And seeing the way the community has come together to really focus on cancer and really focus on cancer research and on making better treatments and outcomes really does give us hope for the future. And maybe in the question and answers later we can chat a bit more about things that are happening, the wonderful James that's opening in about 4 months, and other things that are happening on our medical campus. But this weekend we had a chance to focus on cancer research and the progress that has been made, and great progress that's around the corner. And then wonderfully we celebrated our honorary degree recipient and medalists on Saturday night, and then had a commencement, our summer commencement, on Sunday, and I had the privilege of congratulating and welcoming 1,800 new members into the Buckeye alumni. And that was just that. Graduations are wonderful events. The pride of the parents and the sense of accomplishment and achievement from the students is always overwhelming, and every time I go there I'm reminded of why we're so privileged to be able to do this work. And let me say that the campus is a little quiet during the summer, but I've had a chance to meet with student leaders, some of whom I've seen here today, and we have really wonderful student leaders on our campus who are really focused about moving things forward. And I've had a chance to meet in a variety of different arenas alumni and talk to them on the phone, meet them in different venues here today and other places, and actually all around the world. You know, since the announcement came in January that we were going to be returning for me in a way back to Ohio, every place I go, I'd meet alumni, proud alumni of The Ohio State University. And people who are alums from 30 years ago, 40 years ago, 50 years ago, 60 years ago, still carry that pride forward with them, and it's something that radiates, and it's wonderful to be a part of. And when I think then about being here and what we're going to do, I'm often asked the question, what is the vision of this university? What are the opportunities that The Ohio State University has before it at this critical time? And what do you do as president? One of my nieces once leaned over and said, what do you actually do, you know, as a, it's your job. And I said, well, that's a good question. No, the job really, I believe, of the president is to do what he or she can to facilitate the work of the great people that are a part of this institution. It's to take wonderful people doing great work and try to help them in whatever way to do better. You don't make or break the institution. It's not about you. It's really about all the people who are here doing this great work, and about the students who are the beneficiaries of our focus. And as a research institution, which I'll also say a word about later, we have two major products. One is two major goals. One is to educate the next generation of leaders, prepare people to be our leaders. People who are in this room were educated to be leaders today, and we educate people who will be the leaders of tomorrow. That's great. And also, as a research university, we have a mission to develop new knowledge. We don't just transmit knowledge or pass it on. We actually create new knowledge in our research laboratories. And so those things are fit together in a research university to really form our mission. And then we try and do these things according to our values and our principles, and so we're doing these things in a way that we can be proud of and that's sustainable and uplifting. And I'll say for the Ohio State University, one of the truly great universities of the world, we're an iconic university. So people watch us from all over the world. Everybody knows us, and people watch us certainly across this country, but all over the world. What we do is really important to them, and how we do it is really important to them. And we have to hold ourselves to the highest possible standards because we, in many ways, set the standard. So we're committed to applying the knowledge that we have created and the knowledge that we transmit to the service of the community around us. We're a land-grant university, founded 144 years ago as a result of the Morrill Land Grant Act of 1862. Okay, I've given one quiz already, another quiz. How many people are familiar with the Morrill Land Grant Act of 1862? Okay, I'd like to bring one of you up here on stage to describe it. To me, I'm a little confused. Okay, but the Morrill Land Grant Act of 1862, a wonderful act, one I think of the most important acts in this country's history, because it created a federal pool of money to support research universities to be grown mainly in the western states at that time. And their purpose was actually to educate the sons and daughters of normal people, not just the sons of the elite, which had been the case more in the early part of the 19th century, but the sons and daughters of the citizenry, and then to apply that education and their knowledge to growing the community forward. So yes, it's important for us to educate people. Yes, it's important for us to develop new knowledge, but that knowledge has to be applied to Central Ohio and to our country, and to really be useful knowledge. So it's a really, really important thing. And thinking about the Morrill Land Grant Act, one of the most poignant aspects of this is that it was signed in 1862. Within 6 months, either side of the Morrill Land Grant Act, President Lincoln also signed into or brought into being the National Academy of Sciences and the Emancipation Proclamation. So 3 pieces of either legislation or a proclamation or enabling legislation that were relevant then 150 years ago and amazingly are relevant to us every day today. And he did this at a time that the country was in a period of maximum stress, the middle of the Civil War. And it always takes my breath away to think of someone who was a visionary enough leader to be fighting to keep the country together on a daily basis, literally, and at the same time think about what would make the country great in the future. What kind of an investment could we make in this country for its future? And those investments were first with the National Academy of Sciences to develop knowledge and science to help the country to build itself forward, relevant to us today. Second, with the Morrill Land Grant Act to say that educating our population was the best way for us to be ready for the modern world, and therefore colleges, universities all across the country were founded and started. And finally, with the Emancipation Proclamation to bring our practice in line with our values. We'd had this disconnect from the time of the Constitution forward, and with this act, the President did as much as anyone to bring those values in line with our practices. Critical things to us 150 years later, and things that, again, looking back, it's amazing to see how he was able to think forward to who we ought to be at a time of stress. And I'm honored and blessed to be at an institution that can do those same things on a daily basis. As I mentioned, we're committed to being exemplars of the best that we can be. We have 4 pillars of excellence that we think about. We think of academic excellence, we think of research excellence, but we also think of character excellence and leadership excellence. And we think of our students when they come to us, that our job isn't just to teach them what we teach them in the classroom, but to help develop them as whole people, to create an environment where they can live and learn and grow and mature as whole people and as whole, fully fledged adults to be able to be ready to go out into our communities and be our leaders as we move forward. These things are very important in all that we do, and we think about these things and think about what it means to our students every day. I mentioned at the beginning that my first 40 days have been exciting, and I don't want to suggest that there haven't been challenges. And I know this is on your minds. Let me take a moment to speak about some things that occurred in the realm of our beloved Ohio State Marching Band. As you know, and I think this has been written about extensively, a few months prior to my arrival and after a series of complaints, the university undertook a thorough 2-month investigation that resulted in a report that arrived on my desk a couple of weeks after I was here. I used to tell people that, there's a honeymoon period and all these things. And I did say it felt like I wasn't quite able to get out of the church, But be that as it may, the report arrived when it did. And that's really the relevant thing here today. When it arrived, it then needed to be addressed and dealt with. And we read the report. It was profoundly disappointing to me, not what I would have wished. I'm a great fan of the marching band. One of the things that Brenda and I are so excited about are the great traditions that surround the band. We had a wonderful time when we were here in January being welcomed by the band, and I'm looking forward to the band this fall. So reading the report, I was personally profoundly disappointed to see that the report found cultural problems in the band that needed to be addressed, and needed to be addressed in a forthright fashion because we needed to move forward. So we made the difficult decision that new leadership was required. I'll say difficult decision that this was thought about very, very carefully with the leadership and with others, and we came to the decision that new leadership was necessary. And this was necessary to ensure a safe and positive environment for our students, and that means a safe and positive environment for all of our students, everyone. And based on the facts, we stand by this decision. The marching band is an academic unit. The students who are in marching band get credit for this. And all of our academic units have a series of principles and practices that they must adhere to, both according to our values and what we know is right, according to Title IX provisions that require educational institutions to behave according to a certain series of rules and values, and also because we have to be exemplars of the best. If we are the best or among the very best universities in the world, that's great, and that's why Brenda and I came here. We have to behave like the very best university in the world. And let me say what were described were behaviors that would not be tolerated in any class or in any unit on our campus. I dare say not in your companies as well. And therefore, they can't be tolerated at The Ohio State University. I will say that an environment conducive to sexual harassment is not and will not be tolerated at The Ohio State University. The right decision is not always the easiest decision, or I promise it's not always the most comfortable decision or the one that you want to make. But at the end of the day, the right decision is the right decision. And now what we are focused on is moving forward. This is about our students at the beginning and at the end of the day. And what we want to do is to take the students who are in the marching band and support them with all the resources that we know they need to be the best damn band in the land. And I want to say that I'm fully in support of them and a big fan. As I mentioned, they're in tryouts now. We're looking forward to an outstanding season for them. And I know many of you will be with us as we cheer them and support them as they move forward and continue to thrill us with the precision and dedication and musicianship and spectacular formations that we in the world have come to know and love. And I also understand that the band, and I truly understand that the band is a great source of pride for the community. There are many alums of the band who are in this room perhaps today and in all walks of life who've gone on to great things in their lives and hold their memories very closely. And we've heard from many of them. And their musicianship and their precision and the things that they did and that we cheered are great things. And their success in life are things that we really applaud. So we appreciate that, and we're looking forward to partnering with the alums as well as the current band members to keep this great tradition moving forward. I'm fully confident that the band's innovation, dedication, and talent will be on full display for many, many years. And let me say, as I mentioned full display, I couldn't be more excited about my first autumn semester here in Columbus. The opportunity to do good work with amazing people, to discover new things, to teach a new crop of bright young people. With our students, we want to enable, empower, and inspire them to make a difference. In 2 weeks, they arrive for their first day of class. We'll be welcoming about 7,000 new students, the best prepared in our history. And in partnership with the downtown community, including the mayor, we'll be bringing students from campus to nationwide arenas so they can get to know the community that they live in, get to know the downtown community that's so vibrant to Columbus. Also, a couple of other things that are really important for us this fall. We will kick off the Wexner Center for the Arts 25th anniversary exhibit with exhibit of modern masters on loan from the Wexner family collection. This will be one of the outstanding modern art collections displayed any place in the world this year. It's an incredible collection, and I know I'll see many of you there. We're breaking ground on an expansion of our veterinary medicine animal hospital. We're opening our third global gateway, this time in Sao Paulo, Brazil. I think the provost is going down there in a couple of weeks to make sure they get it right. And he's coming back a couple of months later to make sure, no, we'll, so I'll be back tomorrow. Though. We're celebrating our 125th football season. Amazing. And I'll enjoy very much, particularly in November, witnessing our next great victory against that school from up north. And yes, let me say a round of applause for that. And in December, we're opening the doors of the new James Cancer Hospital and Solov Research Institute. That's going to be really incredible. And then let me say that the future is bright for our institution. We are an iconic institution with a great past and a great and bright future. And you know, all of us know what it means to be a Buckeye in one way or another, and I'm feeling it more every day. It's a great source of pride and connectivity around the world. And I want to say how privileged and excited I am, privileged and excited and honored to be here to serve as the 15th president of this great university. It's humbling even to say it. I'm absolutely proud and thrilled. And Brenda and I were very happy in our past life, but we saw this opportunity as an incredible community to join and an incredible university to be a part of, and feel really, really privileged and literally blessed to be able to be a part of this community. And I'd say that the community was a critical part of our decision. I knew of The Ohio State University from working with colleagues over many years. I knew of Ohio because of my mother's upbringing here. I have documents from East High School in Youngstown where she graduated in 1933 in my office. So that was great, and I would come to visit relatives in Toledo and Youngstown as a child. That was great. But we really wanted to see the Columbus of today before we knew that this is the place that we wanted to conduct our lives. And actually coming here and meeting people and seeing the city was very welcoming and affirming, and it's been that way every day since we've been here this summer. So we're really proud and excited to be here. And so let me say that this great university calls this great city home. They're interconnected. Brenda and I look forward to playing whatever small role we can in helping to continue the story of this university and the city. I look forward to coming here on many occasions as a member to be able to, well, I don't mind. No, I always say, well, yes, I'm happy to be a member in the audience or to happen to be a member on stage, either way. But I'm really looking forward to many chances to get to spend time here with all of you, getting to discuss the issues of the day, and to having us all hands and arms linked, joined together. Look forward to making this a better world tomorrow. Thank you very, very much.
As Dr. Drake gets settled here, as I get settled here, one of my first questions was going to be, how are you ever going to escape the shadow of Gordon Gee? Well, I think we've successfully done that based on the crowd that happened here. A few follow-up questions about the band. Let's get that out of the way first, and then we'll get on to the bigger issues as well, because that is the elephant in the room. That's why it's so crowded here.
Okay.
You said it was time for new leadership. The number one question in the community is, if this behavior went back decades, as the report found, why not have the director, who's only been there 2 years, make the changes?
We had thanks very much. I mentioned that this is about our students and about their experience and about the things that we're required to do. We had a series of complaints that dated from the spring of 2013 to the summer of 2014. So that was the period that the report covered. Didn't go back beyond that except for some qualifying information. And there were specific complaints that led to a series of facts. And we looked at those facts, and those facts led us to a decision that it was time for a leadership change.
It's been said that you did not meet with John Waters. Is that true? And why didn't you not meet with him?
Yeah, I, again, will say that what I received was were these facts, and we made a decision based on those facts. He met with the provost, who's in fact the unit, that's where his unit reports, and that was appropriate for this circumstance.
Do you regret not meeting with him?
I've met with him once before. I don't know that we won't meet again. In this particular circumstance, we used the normal chain of command to address the situation.
Why not suspend him, put him on probation, give him a year to see if he could enact these changes, really lay down the law, but say, okay, you've done good work with the band, see if you can make the change?
What we saw was a culture that, again, the facts in this case showed us that there was a culture that was not in line with our requirements under Title IX, not in line with our principles, not in line with our values, and we needed to make a change to move forward. And what we want to do is to move forward with the band and to create an atmosphere that we believe will support our students in the best way possible.
Why not discipline others? There are assistant band directors, there are senior band members. When a football player gets caught trading memorabilia for tattoos, he is suspended. Why were there no other disciplinary actions?
Again, this is based on the report that we had, and the report had a series of facts that led us to these conclusions, and they were specific and directed. And so we followed really the direction that the facts led us. And
you're the new guy.
yes.
The report said that John Waters knew or reasonably should have known that this culture existed and these traditions existed. Isn't it reasonably to assume that university leadership knew or should have known that this was going on and allowed it to happen?
Again, there are a lot of things that we could speculate that may have been the case. We kind of based what we did on the facts moving forward. And let me say, as you know, we're gathering other facts as we move forward. This is not the end of our ability to find out things that might help us to be better. Our focus was the report that we had, and there are straightforward guidelines on how we're to follow those things, the report we had, and moving forward.
Was it a question you had that, look, if this has gone on for decades, I mean, somebody had to have known. They opened up the stadium, they turned the lights on, the police were there for the midnight march.
Yeah, I'll say that I wasn't particularly focused on what had happened in the past. I was really focused on what we had before us and doing the best thing we could moving forward. We're focused on our students and their experience. As I mentioned, they're trying out for the band right now. So what we had to think about is what we have today, what we know today from the facts that were presented, and what the best decision is if we're going to make a change and move forward.
Two more questions, then we'll move on. Any chance that John Waters gets his job back?
You know, we thought carefully about this decision. I would say very carefully about the decision, and the decision that we made was that we needed to have a change in leadership to be able to change the culture moving forward.
So no changing your mind at this point?
Not changing my mind. No, changing my mind isn't, the facts are as they were, the decision was based on those facts, the decision is the same.
You mentioned your honeymoon.
Yes.
It was very short. Do you worry, this has been such a whirlwind for the past few weeks, do you worry that this story, your decision, and the controversy that it has caused will hamper your presidency?
What I believe is that we have values that we practice. We know what's right, and we know what has to be done. And I have always been a person who did my best to find the facts and to act accordingly and appropriately on those facts and to move forward. And I will always do that.
All right, let's get on to some easier things to solve.
Okay. Okay.
Why is college tuition so high?
I'm sorry, you're breaking up. Let me just walk outside for a minute. You know, colleges are amazing institutions, amazingly complicated institutions. The issue we've been talking about, all of us can imagine how amazingly complicated and difficult these kinds of decisions are. And all of my colleagues in these roles know that decisions like this come up on a daily basis. Not this large or this controversial, not this public, but they come up on a routine basis. And so we need to bring the very best minds together to be able to help us lead these institutions. And our colleges and universities do great things for us broadly. It's not just a place where you go to school. It's a place where the arts thrive and grow, a place where science thrives and lives and grows. And the modern world, a lot of the basic R&D, a lot of the basic science research is done on our college universities, our college campuses, the Bell Labs and other kinds of places we might have had a half a century or more ago where lots of great research has done. A lot of that has now devolved down to our faculty. So we have to have the very best minds in the world. And then if we're going to make the life-saving and earth-moving changes that we all have come to expect. We have to have the best laboratory facilities and other things to be able to do this work. And so there are a lot of things in the modern world that cost money. I will say that I'm very, very interested in the affordability of university life, the access and affordability of university life. I've chaired commissions on this for statewide access and affordability. And we're doing everything we can to increase access and increase affordability. Our graduation rates have been going up. They're in the above 80% now, which wasn't the case before. At many colleges and universities, we have many more low-income students finding their way to colleges and four-year universities than were ever the case before. And so what we want to do is to make sure that we do everything we can to moderate the cost of college, but also keep the value of college really, really high.
You tell the story of your mom who
Yes.
worked as a lifeguard for 13 weeks,
Yes.
saved every penny,
Yes.
and was able to pay for her tuition and a room
Yes.
at her college.
Yes.
I did the math, current day.
Yes.
If a lifeguard making $10 an hour
Yes.
works for 13 weeks, saves every penny,
Yes.
she would raise about $5,200.
Yes.
That's about 1/4 of the cost of going to Ohio State.
Yes.
Does that worry you?
Well, it worries me in one way. Let me say, though, in another way. So my mother's issue was she went to Morgan State College. It was 80 years ago. I'm entirely proud of my mother. There are very few African-American women going to college in the 1930s, height of the Depression. She could type. She was easy to get along with. She became the dean's secretary. That was her job when she arrived. My father was the captain of the football team. He was a guard, so he was a lineman, but he wore number 1 because he was the captain. His team was amazingly undefeated during his 4 years. They had ties in those days, but didn't lose. And his proudest season when he was team captain, All-American team captain, the team was undefeated, won the national championship for the league they played in. He was on defense, and the other opponents during the season scored 0 points. So, I had a great, my mom and dad were married for 70 years. My mother died at nearly 94. My father died a year and a half ago at 99. He was still working. He'd gone to medical school. I have photographs in my office of them, and I have his national championship trophy in my office. So they had a great experience in college back in the day. And what she was able to pay for the $65 was 13 weeks, $1 a day, $65, 0 pennies spent. And she kept that frugality, I'll say, for every day of her life. I encountered it many times. Lessons learned. But that paid for her beginnings. That was about 1/4 of her time there. So she had to, so the amount that she paid would have been multiplied if we were going to include entire...
For a full year?
For a full year. This
Okay.
was just this was just to pay her initial tuition, her $5 bus ticket, and to pay her room and board. So actually,
college costs haven't gone up that much.
so actually, let me say that there's an equivalency there. It's not that bad. And so our colleges, actually, particularly our publicly supported research universities, are relatively affordable even today. They're not inexpensive. I don't mean to say that, and I know that families struggle, but they're relatively affordable, and a bright, young, focused mind can be educated there. And they're very proud of that, and we want to continue to make sure that this is a doorway open for people to move to the future.
What is the role of a public land-grant university? Is it to lay the foundation for young adults to go on and succeed in their careers, or is it to provide specific job training for positions that companies want?
I think we want to be broad and unconstrained by those things. We have, as I mentioned, the job of educating the future leaders of our community. We care about that a lot, and we have the job of creating new knowledge to help us address tomorrow's problems better. I mentioned Pelotonia, and when we think of Pelotonia, the talk I gave at the kickoff was looking at childhood leukemias and the survival rate for those in the 1960s, and the survival rate in the 1990s, and the survival rate today. And in the 1960s, it was 40–45%, and in the 1990s, it was 60–65%, and today it's 80–85%. So it's really getting better and better and better, and one of our real roles is to continue to advance that knowledge forward. Let me say there are a variety of jobs and ways that people can participate in the society, and I'd say that all are on the table for us.
You mentioned Bell Labs. Have private companies outsourced the training to colleges, and has it gone too far that way?
We have a great partnership with private industry, and that we model it. We have companies created on our campuses. Our faculty work closely with people in industry, and we want to do even better at that. And so I think we have a great partnership now, and and look forward to that continuing on in the future. I like the idea that these things are at universities, let me say, because Bell Labs had to really focus at least part of their attention on making sure they would have a Bell Labs reasonable product. We're able to be broader and kind of follow where knowledge leads us.
What is the main challenge facing the OSU Medical Center?
The main challenge facing academic medical centers in the country today is to be able to continue to increase the quality and accessibility and affordability of medical care. We have the best medical care in the world, in the history of the world, with us here today. When we have our new hospital opening, it will be the most modern facility of its type in the history of the world. And so that's a great opportunity for us, but we have to make sure that we do a wonderful job of taking care of people appropriately and effectively, and we have to work with the broader community to make sure that people stay healthy. Once you get to us and get wonderful things done, that's great, but we'd rather have you be out in the world enjoying your life and your siblings, children, grandchildren, et cetera, and not needing care. So we're faced with the challenge of continuing to improve, and our costs have been out of whack, and so we have to do this in a cost-constrained way. I think we're up to the challenge. There are great leaders and partners, some here in the room with me, and we're excited about this challenge. And actually, if we look back, we see progress every year, and we want to continue that.
Central Ohio is fortunate that we have great medical. We have the Ohio State Medical Center, we have Mount Carmel, we have Ohio Health. They've been on a bit of a building boom lately. They've been growing. Are they growing too much? Can Ohio State compete with Ohio Health? Does it have to compete with Mount Carmel? How come those systems work better together?
You know, we compete with disease and suffering. And I used to say disease, suffering, and ignorance. And those are really who we compete with. And our job is to do the best we can to create a place where people can come and do better.
We're going to open up to questions from the audience. It is our tradition at the CMC to take questions. So I'm going to ask one more question to Dr. Drake, and then we'll take questions. If you have a question, please come to the microphone right here. So make your way over to the microphone. I have to ask a football question.
Yeah.
I can't have a whole we had the band taken care of. We got academics, now we got to get to football. Recently, the 5 major conferences have decided, the NCAA has agreed in principle to allow them to go it alone, more or less, and to make their own rules. The rule changes at first seem minor, perhaps providing scholarship athletes with compensation for the full cost of attending college. Do you worry that having all that power with the 5 major conferences, including the Big Ten, of which, of course, Ohio State's a member, is going to skew the importance of college athletics, college football, even more than it already has?
So for those who don't know, I've been for the last couple of years on the NCAA board, and I was a member of the executive board and a member of the committee of 7 that drafted the reforms that you're speaking of. So I spent a great deal of time, particularly this last year, in looking at these reforms. The NCAA needed to modernize so that it's relevant to the modern world. There were many restrictions in the NCAA that were not there for the right reasons and were holdovers from a past era. And so there was a great effort with people from different conferences and different points of view to modernize the NCAA and to make sure that it could be relevant for today's athletes. I will say that the group of people who sat around the table, 7 first, and then when I was announced as joining the Ohio State University and therefore moving conferences, an 8th person was added. I had asked, to be relieved and step down, but we had a very good working relationship, and so they added another person to kind of balance those things out, so we heard from different voices. But the goal really was to treat our student athletes better. I mentioned to you several times in the past that we focus on our students and the student part of their experience, and we want them to be taken care of appropriately. And we felt that there were things that we could do for our student athletes that would be better for them, that would enhance their experience. And a whole another, next time I come, we'll talk about just that. It would take the entire time. I'd be happy to talk about that. So we spent a lot of time working on those things, and I'm pleased, honestly, with the progress that was made. 2 or 3 things that are changed that are going to make a difference. One, being able to give a scholarship plus the full cost of attendance. Again, quickie question, how many people here have supported a student through college recently? And so a good fraction of the audience, or yourselves were in college recently, I don't mean to make you older, but forgive me. But a good, there was how much it cost to go to college, and then there was but that wasn't it. It was really more than that. And so we certainly budgeted something more than just tuition, room, and board, because there were pizza, movies, a trip home, I mean, different things you needed. And so all colleges and universities understand that and have a figure that we use to calculate financial aid need. And by adding that to the scholarship, particularly for low-income students who may have traveled from out of state, there'll be a few $1,000s a year of extra money to be able to handle those things, and that makes a huge amount of difference. The difference between no money for pizza or to be able to get home and $40, $50 a week, whatever, $60 a week, whatever it's going to be, that's a square wave difference. That's can do versus can't do. We also, the restrictions on meals were removed. There used to be very strict restrictions on how much you could spend on meals for athletes and who you could spend that money on, because it was seen as a way of enhancing a scholarship if you could spend lavishly. And so there were things like men's basketball teams that would have, on to an away game, they'd have a $15 a day meal allowance, which in 2014. And so that means that you are 6'8", 250 pounds, and you have $15. This was the case in the spring of 2014, and you have $15 a day to feed yourself, which means 4 or 5 hamburgers. I mean, it's really not nutrition or appropriate. So those restrictions were removed as well. And so there are many others. Better insurance, better focus on health care, a whole series of other things that we talked about. But just those two, as you can see, will make a real difference, we think, to a large number of student athletes on a daily basis, and we think it's the right way to go.
But this only applies, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not totally sure, it only applies to the 5 major conferences.
No, so the nice thing about this, and this is part of the discussion we have, any conference now can do these things. The 5 conferences that have the heaviest resources were the ones who are pushing this. This is stressful for schools that are on the margin athletically, and most schools, as you know, 95% have athletic budgets that are in the red. So there'll have to be decisions made there. I'll say that we believe that proper nutrition and enough money to live on were things that were appropriate, and for those conferences that wish to, we think that this was the right thing to do for our students.
Okay. We have a question, just a reminder. We ask you to say your name and your organization. You are on television, if you hadn't noticed. So if you have lettuce in your teeth, or you're wanted by the law, or someplace in between, you've been warned. Go ahead, please.
Now you tell me. Right?
My name is Carol Looper, and I'm a retired television reporter, and I am also a proud graduate of The Ohio State University, who will celebrate my 50th reunion in October at homecoming. That said, Dr. Drake, I have 2 questions for you. The first one, I know you know Gordon Gee. Did Dr. Gee give you any advice upon coming to Ohio State?
We have known each other and actually worked together for years. We worked on an educational attainment committee in Washington, D.C. for years. We worked together at the AAU for many years when I was at a different university and he was at 2 others. So we've known and worked together for many years. And we've talked on the phone, we met and had dinner. And I will say that we've continued our collegial relationship broadly. No, I don't know that we said nothing really so specific, but we're very collegial discussions about moving forward.
And another quick question.
Yes.
There is talk of a potential lawsuit by Dr. Waters. Is the university prepared to handle such a lawsuit? I have covered them in the past with a basketball coach and others, and they never turn out particularly well for the university. Is the university prepared in case he does decide to sue?
In making our decision, what we looked at were the facts in the case and to make the right decision going forward, and we're prepared to live with the consequences of those decisions, and that's something that we're prepared to. And we have many employees, and we're prepared in every circumstance to be able to support ourselves that way.
Hello, Dr. Drake. Andy Campbell.
Yes.
Thank you so much for being here today. There's been a lot of discussion recently in the community, and especially in higher education and as well as secondary, in connecting students to the jobs that are available today.
Yes.
I'd be very curious to hear your thoughts along those lines on that topic.
Well, as I mentioned, we have a broad mission, and it's educating people to be leaders and active participants in our communities going forward. And we're very interested in having them have jobs and be connected to the job market. So we have job fairs and all kinds of other things that we do. A week ago, I was at the Export Internship Program, which looked at creating new jobs and having our students work with companies to create new jobs. And they've created a great number of new jobs. I know Columbus has created 100,000 new jobs over the last 4 years. And what we want to do is to help with those partnerships, help to train people who'll be the best applicants and the best holders of those new jobs for the future. So absolutely important to us.
Sir.
Dr. Drake, I'm
Yes.
Skylar Burgess with Deloitte and another alumni of Ohio State.
Great.
My question for you is about research.
Yes.
You've mentioned research and development several times in your talk today. It seems to us that Columbus has a unique opportunity to leverage the strengths of Ohio State, the James, and Battelle to really create something unique here that you may not see in other parts of the country. What can we do at Ohio State to help leverage the capabilities that are resident in those three entities?
One of the things that attracted me to this city, to this region, was the realization that there were great opportunities there. Battelle is the leading research organization of its type in the world, and we have a world iconic university here, and we have the great city of Columbus that is growing and thriving. As I mentioned, 100,000 new jobs, et cetera. So we're really in a great place at this point in time. And we are fully dedicated to partnerships with our research environment, with our broader community, and with the broader business community on making those connections that help us to advance the society forward. It's exactly on point for what we believe we should be doing, particularly as a land-grant university. And thank you for the question.
One follow-up to that, Dr. Drake.
Yes.
Ohio State lags other Big Ten universities in turning that research into dollars and commercializing
Yes.
the research. How do you hope to improve that?
You know, we've all worked on that a lot, and I've happily had some experience with that in the past. And so what we really, I'll give it a broad focus. What we really want to do is to make sure that we reduce the barriers to commercialization of products and getting our faculty information and our faculty knowledge into the commercial world, and that we also stimulate and support our faculty in taking their ideas to those partnerships. And so we have a variety of ways that we will continue to address that, and it's one of our front burner initiatives.
Please.
Good afternoon, Dr. Drake. My
Yes.
name is Dawn Tyler Lee, and I'm with United Way of Central Ohio. 50 years from now, when you retire and we're listening to your successor here at the Metropolitan Club, what do you want that person to say about your legacy?
Well, I'd like to hear that person say, I want you to think about that for a moment, but okay. Meant that literally. I'd like to hear that person say that we had a values-driven university, that we were proud of ourselves in what we did and the way that we did it, that we made our community and our region and our nation better, that we advanced forward the human condition, that we created circumstances that allowed individuals to optimize their human potential, that we were a great source of pride and enjoyment, and that we were a great source of love among ourselves. And I would look forward to those things being said.
And he is the first university president who arrived on campus. They've already named a hall after you.
I like that very much. I felt very welcome.
Thank you very much, Dr. Drake. Appreciate your
This has been
candid
terrific.
answers.
Thank you very, very much. Thank you. Thank you all very much.
I just want to take a moment to thank Dawn Tyler Lee for asking a perfect question to end our session today. I hope you enjoyed the forum. We encourage you to continue the conversation in the lobby over coffee and cookies. And can I just ask, if you look at your name tag and you have a green name tag, could you hold up your hand, please? Don't you want to be like them? Don't you want to be a member like them? I'd like to thank our sponsors, Deloitte, Mills James, Honda, Robert Weiler, Shoemate, Loop, and Kendrick. I'm losing the room. Moody Nolan, Corner Cozing, and Mike Thompson, and Dr. Michael Drake. Please give another round of applause.